As a result of recent price action and the Solana mobile phone coming out within the next week, many people are getting extremely excited, purchasing a bunch of Solana and speculating that now could be the best buying opportunity. But as a Solana bull and fan myself, I'm actually under the belief that now isn't the best time to be purchasing. And so in today's video, I want to give you the 3 main reasons as to why I believe that, and I'm actually going to give you the exact moment in time that I'm looking for before I do start purchasing more Solana. So with that said, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's get straight into today's video. So in order to give you a true understanding of what exactly we're waiting on before we purchase Solana, let's take a look at the charts here and let me give you just a quick visual representation of it. So what we can see here is that Solana is still within this descending wedge. Now, yeah, many of us do believe, of course, with Solana especially, that these descending structures will typically break to the upside and ascending structures will break to the downside. So, well, if we're in a descending structure, shouldn't we be buying right now because historically speaking, we'll break to the upside? Well, yes, although that is the historical truth of things, I do believe that what we're seeing right now very well could be a bit of an exception. Now, the reason why I believe that we could be in a bit of an exception right now is specifically because what we are seeing above us at $28.14. There is a fundamental reason why I believe we might not see this breakout to the upside and why the price could continue to get rejected to the downside, offering better purchasing opportunities in the future. So let's talk about the fundamental reason and then let's talk about the technical reason, because both of which I believe are important. Now, the reason why $28 was so fundamentally important for Solana was because that was the key level of support that we were building on and establishing before the FTX crash. And so what this means fundamentally is that when someone looks at Solana from the perception of value, they're going to ask themselves as we get up towards that level, is Solana fundamentally more valuable or worth more now that we have seen all of these events play out over the last few months? And is it in a better position than it was before the FTX crash? Or is Solana in a worse position now from the FTX crash? Is it not perceivably more valuable? And is it something that has less of a potential in the future due to everything that played out with Alameda Research? Now, by asking these two questions, it is going to decide whether or not Solana is capable of revisiting and getting back above this key level of support that we were on before the FTX crash. To make it simple, getting above here means that Solana is equal of value or more valuable than before the FTX crash, and getting rejected here says that it is less valuable and less likely to see growth because of everything that did play out here. So as you can see, there is a lot that hangs in the balance here. It is not as simple as this just being a simple level of resistance. This is a fundamental value issue, and people are going to decide very, very quickly. And so yes, although we are again in this descending wedge, people are making a much bigger decision that is completely wrapped around something that is completely fundamental. So because of that, I still do believe that we should be waiting to buy. Now I'm going to tell you exactly when I would be buying in a second here, so stay with me. Now, as I mentioned, there's fundamental reasons and there are technical reasons. Let's talk about a few technical reasons. Technically speaking, again, yes, the first one and the most obvious one is considering the fact that generally speaking, when we break key levels of support, they will flip into resistance. Now, gladly speaking, we did already get a bit of a pullback off of this key level of resistance and back towards this key level of liquidity around roughly $15. So considering the fact that we already saw one rejection in this zone, we very well could look to get that break to the upside now that the price did cool off a bit, especially considering we did get so many bullish readings on this weekly chart prime oscillator, such as our peak finders, bullish divergence, bullish momentum dots, oversold readings, and green bullish reversal triangles. All of those things tell us that we could be in great position to see a beautiful move to the upside. So yes, technically and fundamentally, we could get this move to the upside, but this is still a key level of resistance that we really need to clear. Now, the second reason that I have here is because we are at a much heightened level of risk at this key level of rejection. Let me explain why. Historically speaking, Solana has a tendency to eat wicks. Now, what I mean by that is whenever we see on the weekly charts a wick to the downside, Solana's price has a tendency to come back and eat that wick, or basically revisit the levels in which that wick went down to. But the only times that it does not eat the wick is whenever it is going to look for a strong macro continuation. Let's look at a little bit of history. What we can see here is that Solana put in this wick, and what happened the moment that we broke through and started to eat this wick, we absolutely got decimated to the downside. Let's go a little bit bit further back here. What you can see here is that Solana's price put in these wicks right here. And of course we did see a bit of a pump, but the moment that we started to eat this wick, we went further down and we lost, about roughly 6 or 7% more in value to set the new lower low. We can go even further back here and you can see that we put in these wicks towards this lows, and although we did get a little bit of growth, we ended up eating those wicks and then continuing back to the downside. So these moments where we start to venture back into these wicks, we really need to see that hold support, because if not, historically says we will continue further down. But let's see these moments where these wicks hold and we don't eat them with weekly closes. As you can see here, we never came back to revisit or eat this wick, and that sent us into the bull market. You look at the bull market itself, we put in these wicks, and although we attempted to eat them a few times, we kept getting the weekly closes back above them, and we never confirmed the engulfing or the eating of the wick here. And so of course, considering we never ate these wicks, we were allowed to continue towards the upside. Let's look a little bit further. We put in a little bit of a mini wick right here. We never came back to eat it, and so because of that, for a few more months, we were able to continue towards the upside. Or lastly, when we look back towards the beginning of 2023, we set in this wick and we so far have not come back down to eat it, which should allow us to see some more growth towards the upside. So as you can see, as we are getting this rejection here, we are getting closer and closer and closer to coming back down to trying to eat this wick. And under the circumstances in which we do that, Solana's price very well could not only go down towards $16, but possibly even lower, back towards these $12, $13, $14 levels. And obviously we don't want to see that play out. So considering there is a heightened risk at this key level of support right now, I think that purchasing is putting yourself at a very strong level of risk. Now, the very last reason in which I do believe waiting for a purchase is probably the best idea here is because of the trend line establishment in which we are seeing at this moment. What you can see here is that we have a very strong level of resistance from this trend line all the way back in August of 2022, in which, at this given point, we have not been able to clear. We got up to it, but we have not broken above it. And so at this point, we very well could get one more rejection before looking to make that actual move to the top side. Now, not only do we have this trend line, but what you can actually see is we have the macro trend line sitting right above us, also closer towards $29 to $28. Now, what we've seen historically from that is that on these moments in which we get up towards this line, especially here, we do get these strong rejections to the downside. So both of these things and both of these trend lines tell me that, hey, we should probably let these things break first before buying, because if not, we are at a huge risk of seeing a pullback to the downside, especially if we eat this wick. So all of these things considered, everything considered that we just spoken about, I'm under the belief that waiting is the best option to do right here, again, unless you're simply just dollar cost averaging. In the moment, the specific moment that I'm waiting for is for Solana to break $28 and hold it on a weekly close. Once we're capable of doing that and we get the weekly close above $28, that puts it in position to have broken out of this descending channel. It also gives us the breakout of this key level of resistance and support, which is, fundamentally important from the FTX crash. And it also gets us above both of those macro trend lines that we saw. If we're capable of seeing Solana do that, the door is then open for a much bigger move to what very easily could be $40 to $45 or maybe even $50, because the inherent and fundamental value of Solana will have increased substantially, and investors are willing to bet on that. Now, while we are waiting for the majority of this crypto market to really start making some moves and start making some momentum, you all know that we've been doing loads of investing into some very small micro caps and some of these new startups, and we've seen some phenomenal gains on them recently, some generating 30, 40, 50, or maybe even at times 100% in gains. And so of course I have another one for you today. They are sponsoring today's video that I thought was pretty interesting and I thought you would want to hear about, and today we are talking about Artify. So here we are on Artify's platform, and as you can see, they are an AI powered art platform. Now, this is something that has helped contribute substantially to the NFT movement, especially the ones that we've seen recently, and I do believe that this is going to be something that opens a lot of doors for people, especially during the next NFT wave, because of course of simply just how easy it is. Now, before I show you how easy it is, I want to highlight that there are no minting fees with the creation of this art, which is something that you really just don't see in many places, which gives them a clear edge, at least in my opinion, especially with their token, the native token of their entire platform. But what I want to do is let's go into their app real quick, and I want to show you just how easy it is to make some art that you can then mint or do whatever you want with. So let's call this some sand, let's call this the water line, and then let's just say we have some mountains back here. Let's just do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and I'm going to say a beach with mountains in the distance. There we go. And I tried this earlier, so watch this. Look at this. It's insane. And then so we got to give it about 30-45 seconds, and you can see just how easy this is to do. And boom. Look at this. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And that was like I said, 15-20 seconds ago. And it gives us an image of exactly not only just what we drew, but what we described also. And so, as I mentioned before, using tools like this to be able to create NFTs around, say, someone's project or around their company ideas or their company logos, etc., it opens up doors for people to do things that they've never been able to do, in my opinion. Especially considering the fact that designers to make NFTs cost hundreds of dollars an hour and oftentimes cut into a lot of the profits that these NFT projects see. So being able to do this and create your own masterpieces for free without having to put in that much effort is absolutely revolutionary. Now, they do have a bunch of other tools, from the draw tool as we just talked about, the Midjourney tool, which is a lot more in depth and you can really truly describe exactly what you want and it creates it for you. You do have to have a certain amount of tokens in order to be able to access that one, but it is absolutely phenomenal and I will show you that in the future. But again, they have editing tools, restoration tools, detailing tools, colorify tools, prompters, background removers, image to drawings, etc. for anyone that is trying to create art and do it in a very fast and easy and efficient way. Now, all of these tools are wrapped around their token, as I did mention before, the AFY token, and that is the reason why it is one of those tokens that I think has a substantial amount of potential, especially moving forward, because the tools in which they offer can be absolutely so useful, especially when we do see the next bull market and NFT waves kick off. So with that said, definitely do go check them out. Let me know what you think. I think they're absolutely amazing and there's a lot more that we can talk about. So if you do want some future content, definitely let me know in the comment section down below and I can get that done for you. But with that said, that's going to be about it for today's video, ladies and gentlemen. As I mentioned before, we're looking for a breakout of $28 before we're going to commit to any major purchases or long trades for Solana. Until that point, I do believe it's risky. I don't believe it's worth the risk, especially for the little bit amount of price movement that needs to happen before we get there. So I will continue to update you as this does play out. But I hope you guys did enjoy today's video and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Peace out, everybody.